as well as the general equations, you know, those linear type equality between two linear equations, things like this, that there's another worked example video on. I thought I might just talk about the exponents and square roots when we've got multiple variables as well. So this one we did in the lecture today. So we've got x, it's inside a square root. We don't want it inside a square root. We want to express this equation as x equals something else. Treat the y as essentially a variable that we don't really need to, we don't need to worry too much about the y. We just have to keep it being the y that it is. So the first thing that I would do in this instance is multiply both sides by 2, because then I won't have to deal with a fraction on this side, on my fraction. So here, multiplying the y by 2 gives me 2y, and on this side, it's just going to become what's inside the square root. Now remember, what's inside that square root is essentially in brackets, so I can't get to either the x or the 7 until I get rid of the square root. So as a next step, I'd be getting rid of the square root. So essentially, I'm taking this and squaring it, and taking this and squaring it. So applying that square to both sides maintains the equality. And so here, if I square a 2y, this is essentially saying 2 times y times 2 times y. Remember, we've got commutativity and associativity, so I can put them together. Or the usual rule when we have something in brackets and we square it is that that squared applies to both of the things in there. So we need to remember to multiply the 2 by 2 as well. So this becomes 4y squared. And here the square root and the squared cancel out. We just get x minus 7. As the last step, I can add 7 to both sides. And now I have an equation of x in terms of y. So I've got the x equals 4y squared plus 7. Now, when we're going from this direction, I have to be a little bit more careful. And so here, a square root by itself is just defined as a positive number. So I know that if I take the square root of 25, this is just equal to 5 when it's written like that. But implicitly, I know that also, I know that 5 times 5 equals 25, but I also know that negative 5 times negative 5 equals 25, because two negatives multiplying each other make a positive. But mathematically, when a square root is like this, it's defined just as the positive part. But if I introduce the square root, so all I know is this squared relationship, I need to be careful and make sure I don't forget about the second solution. So in this case, I'm going to proceed firstly getting rid of, cancelling out the 3, so I'm going to have 3y equals x minus 7 squared minus 2. I'm then going to get rid of the 2, so I've got my 3y plus 2 equals x minus 7 squared. Now, the opposite of a square root of a squared is a square root. Sometimes you might have seen this also as a fractional power. So saying something like the root of 5 or the root of x or anything, this is the same as saying 5 to the power of a half. 5 to the power of a half. Furthermore, we have things like root 5 times root 5 equals 5. It's the same in this notation as saying 5 to the half times 5 to the half. You might recall when you're multiplying two things with the same base, and we'll cover this a little bit later, these add together to make 1, so that gives 5 to the 1 as well. We can think of it in both ways. We'll do a little bit more on that in the topics when we cover exponents and logarithms. But for the moment, we just need to remember that a square root and squaring something are inverse operations, so they cancel each other out. So here, I'm going to take the square root operation on both sides. So on this side, I'm going to be left with 3y plus 2 inside my square root. On this side, this square root and that squared are going to cancel out. I'm going to have my x minus 7. Now, it's at this point that I need to be careful. Remember, with the squared, I don't just have x minus 7 equals this, because once I put in y, I'll get a positive number. It could be a negative. So what we really should do here is actually add this little sign saying it could be the positive version of that, it could be the negative version of that. So it's plus or minus this is what x is equal to. And I don't know whether it's positive or negative. So then adding the 7, so what I actually get is 7, and I'll put it on this side just so that I can put this plus or minus here. 7 plus or minus 3y plus 2 is equal to x, and that's my expression for x. Because up here, x could be a negative, could be a negative number, positive number, it's defined for all of them. Here, I need to be able to recover all of those as well. So if you look at that very last question that's in the practical notes, in the prac question, second hard question, we have a situation where this is actually really important because if we don't take don't consider the plus or minus of the square root, then our answer actually is invalid. So have a look at that as well. So here are the two methods. Should be right to get on track for all that. I hope you have a good weekend. Bye.